Alright guys, time for an update on the Regal. So this is the 204R overdrive transmission out of the Regal. I decided after taking it down the highway and driving it Saturday that it wouldn't downshift on its own. You'd have to manually pull it down to get a passing gear out of it. I don't know what's up with that. I know the TV cable was hooked up correctly, and I do have the geometry corrector bracket bolted to the Holley linkage. So, and I know that cable's hooked up correctly. It's not my first rodeo with that. What I did find after pulling the transmission apart, the valve for the TV cable was very sticky. It was sticking pretty bad. Now I've cleaned this in solvent real good. Now it's really smooth, so that is probably what was wrong with it. Now, this transmission was in a parts car, Monte Carlo SS I had here. I don't know how many miles is on it. I don't even know how long the car set. I know the car probably set at least 10 years, maybe more, I don't know. So, you know, that probably is from, you know, sitting and all that. But anyway, I just decided to go ahead and pull the transmission and just kind of take that stuff apart and inspect everything to put the rebuild or the shift kit in. And in this kit in particular, it has the now this is optional. If you have the transmission out of the car, you can go ahead and put these in. It's just a secondary spring to put inside the originals for third gear. So, you know, you don't really, if the tranny's in the car, you can go ahead and put the shift kit in and not mess with these springs. But, you know, I decided, well, it's out. I'll go ahead and take it apart and put them in there. Now, I rebuilt a 204R out of one of my Grand Nationals back in the mid-2000s. And after I did, I swore I'd never do another one. And lo and behold, here I go again. When I put that transmission back together, I had a flare shift from second to third. And if you don't know what a flare shift is, that's when the transmission kind of, there's a pause, and then the engine kind of revs up just a little bit, and then it slides into gear. That's referred to as a flare shift. Well, I had it from second going into third. I had the transmission out of that Grand National, I bet you 4 or 5 times in 1 week, taking it apart, putting it back together, going through the book, you know, the diagrams, making sure I didn't have something backwards or not done correctly. And I never figured it out. So the last time I pulled it out, I took it to a transmission shop, and he charged me $100 to take the transmission apart and, you know, inspect it. Well, he put it all back together, and he called me and he said he couldn't find nothing wrong with it. So I paid $100 for that, and I was pretty irritated. So I just decided to go ahead and put it back in the car to try it, and it worked fine. No more 2-3 flare. So I don't know what he did. He says he didn't find anything. I don't know if he found something and it was something simple and he just didn't want to tell me. I don't know. I would love to know what causes a 2-3 flare or what can cause a 2-3 flare in a 204R, because I did it. And that's kind of why I'm a little bit nervous at this point again. Anyway, back in mid-2000s when I did that, I bought Chris's book here from CK Performance. And I bought his shift kit, and I think I got the rebuild kit from him too, if I remember right. But anyway, that's when I done mine back then. So, you know, when I took going off memory, but when I, you know, first went to change these springs out in this transmission, I thought that spring pack was right here behind the front pump, and it ended up being, this is the 4th gear one. So that was not the one I needed. I needed to go deeper in. So by the time I get down there to it, you know, now all the clutches and stuff are out. If I had a rebuild kit here, it'd be the best way to go. So anyway, the other thing that kind of really got me yesterday, you're supposed to have a special tool to compress. This is a spring pack that you put these springs in, and this is the springs from the kit I've installed down inside the originals. You're supposed to have a special tool to compress the spring pack to get the C-clip out. So my redneck dumbass decides to use a piece of all thread with a nut and a big washer on the end of it, slide it up through there, and then use this off of one of my pullers down over it. And I used a nut up here, and I tightened it down. Well, taking it apart, it was awesome. It worked great. And then after putting another set of springs in there, it made it a little harder to compress. So when I went to compress that back on there to put the C-clip in, it bent it. it tweaked it out pretty bad. Now I've already straightened on it a little bit, but it like folded it up pretty good. So looking at the tool you're supposed to have, it has these little curved arms that give a lot more surface area around that. So what I've decided to do is I'm going to replace this part. I'm not going to try to straighten that and put it back in there, because it'll be my luck it won't work and I'll have to pull the transmission back apart. So I'm going to do it right the first time. What I've decided to do is I have a parts transmission in my shed from an 83 Turbo Regal. It's a 204R that I bought out of a salvage. Me and a friend of mine, Jason, pulled the motor and trans out of this 83 Turbo Regal. We left them connected and we chained them up, and the forklift driver at the salvage picked it up with the big fork, you know, and he takes off balls to the wall back toward the shop, and we're out at the very back. Well, it's all bouncing around. You can see that tranny and motor just bouncing and flopping all over the place. Anyway, it come off and it busted the case on the transmission. So anyway, the transmission was $100, and I ended up getting it for free because that guy broke it. So now I'm glad I did take it, because now I need that part out of it. So I'm very, very happy about that. Now, at this point in this deal, I've just decided it would be better to go ahead and put a kit in this tranny, because I'm this far in. And, you know, there's a clutch pack right here that I could, you know, replace. And there's another clutch pack up here. I mean, everything is out and laying here, so it'd be stupid not to go ahead and put a rebuild kit in here. Now, the rebuild kits are very expensive, and I don't have the money. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of put everything back in. I'm not going to put any of the C-clips in, but I'm going to put it all back in there and put the pump on it with the bolts just hand tight, just to kind of contain everything. And I'm going to put it over here on the floor and cover it up with plastic. And I'm just going to wait until I get the money to get a rebuild kit and go ahead and do this right. You know, I don't really want to wait. And the transmission was working. It just, you know, it kind of slid in gear on the high gears on the floor. It shifted kind of soft. Driving around normal, it shifted pretty hard. So somebody has put a shift kit in it. Some of the holes were drilled in the plate, and so who knows, maybe they did something wrong. Maybe that's why the TV cable wasn't working. I don't know. But anyway, what I've decided is to go ahead and wait and put a rebuild kit in it. Now, I did open up the holes to the wild segment, because you can go mild or wild with this rebuild kit. I did go wild, and I've already re-drilled them out bigger. And anyway, so that's what I've decided to do. I'm just going to save up money. So the Regal's going to go back on the back burner for a little bit until I get the money to get that rebuild kit, because it is expensive. It's a few $100. And I would like to upgrade to the wide band, the wider band, and I would like to go with the bigger vane pump instead of just a little, I think it's a 7 vane or something that's in there. And anyway, and that's even more money because those aren't included with the kit. I think the wide band I can get with that $300 kit, but the vane, the bigger pump, is a little bit more money out of that. So anyway, that's the best way to go for me, and that's what I'm going to do. I am glad, because after tearing it apart and looking at it, it is the CZ valve body, so this is a true SS Monte Carlo HO valve body, and it does have the matching small weighted governor. It does talk about it in the Transgo instructions. Make sure your governor matches your valve body, and in this case mine does. So anyway, guys, that's where I'm at. I think it's gonna have to go on hold for a little while until I get the money saved up to get that rebuild kit. Now, I do have a deal going on with a member at G-Body Forum. I have a very rare set of Hurst-Olds 14-inch wheels, and he wants to buy them. I gave him a price. He's good with it. The bad part is those wheels are stored inside a car, in the car, with the doors closed, and it is in the middle between a row of 3 cars, and it's door to door. I can't get the door open and get in there and get the wheels out. None of the cars run, and it's in my fenced area. So what I need to do is I need to put a tow strap on that car and hook it to my truck and pull it back enough to get the doors open. And we've had so much rain that my yard is just soup. So I would get stuck in the yard, basically. So I don't know, and it's supposed to rain again, so I don't know how long this is going to be. He'll probably get tired of waiting on me is what will end up happening, but Anyway, so I do have the option to get the money for the rebuild kit. But at this point, I'm going to go ahead and wait and go ahead and just rebuild it. I am a little nervous because that transmission I rebuilt in the 87 Grand National in the mid-2000s, I rebuilt one and I had a 2-3 flare shift and I never could figure it out, man. So I'm a little worried about doing that again. You know, the transmission shop guy, he fixed that transmission. He just took it apart and inspected it and said he didn't find anything, but I would really love to know what the heck caused that 2-3 flare after I rebuilt the tranny. And, you know, I drove that car for a long time. It didn't have a 2-3 flare when I took it apart. But after I rebuilt it and had it in and out 4 or 5 times with it all apart, it still had a 2-3 flare until the tranny guy fixed it. So anyway, that's what's up. Basically keep talking about the same shit over and over, but I've still got Chris's book here from CK Performance on how to rebuild. So, and I even have a Haynes manual here on how to rebuild. So that's what I'm going to do. Save up money or wait until I get those wheels sold and get the money and buy a rebuild kit. I'm going to go ahead and do it right and be done with it. And then it's over and done, and I won't have to worry about it lasting a month and starting to slip and then have to pull it out and go through this crap again. So anyway, guys, that's the update on the Regal. I may go ahead and work on the 55 for a while until I get to the point where I get the parts to finish this tranny out. So anyway, here we go.